It's interesting. There's just like an epiphany. I've had this epiphany many times, but it's just like this feeling of the mind doesn't know what it's talking about. So like it comes up with excuses and ideas, and it's like, oh, but what about this? Yeah, well, what about that? Just kind of like it's like you don't have to listen to all your thoughts. Most of them aren't helpful.
Right,
You
right.
just say, okay, just disregard that one. It's whatever.
And the other thing is that we don't even come up with the thoughts. We don't know what our
No,
thoughts going to be. They just arise in consciousness. It's like the weather,
yeah.
you know. The
Somebody said like the mind thinks like the brain like the stomach digests food, or you know.
right, exactly, exactly. It's an organ that follows its function, and
Hmm.
with more or less beyond our control.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I've noticed too is that the more you simply open inside and actually listen, the quieter the mind gets. It's only when we're like
Yeah, no, I get that. Whereas instead of like trying to argue with it or trying to consider it or think about it or do anything about it, just listen to it.
right, because if you remember from the method, what happens is that you've got ego motivations, and then you have emotions, and then you have thoughts.
Hmm.
And so a lot of times there's an ego motivation that we're holding on to, wanting approval, wanting control. And then that creates an emotion, and then that creates a thought.
Hmm.
And so when you open inside or simply just allow what is to be, there's no reinforcement of the ego there, and so the mind doesn't think. There's nothing generating thoughts at that point.
Interesting. I'm trying it right now. Hmm. It's funny how quickly we forget that.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of why some people will say there's too many spiritual teachers or whatever, and I personally think there's not enough. We need to hear these things over and over again.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good point.